From under the Golden Dome in Charleston, this is the West Virginia Capitol Report.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this week's Capitol Report, where we are practicing the CDC rules and regulations for social distancing, wearing of masks prior to, and we both have had our shots, Mayor.
That's right.
We're honored to have with us today the mayor from Montgomery, West Virginia, who is in his second year of a first term and served 8 years as the recorder of the city of Montgomery, where some exciting things are happening. But I know you have some concerns this year, Mayor. When we look at city governments, there are different types of city governments. There's the mayoral government, the city manager government, and combinations thereof. What is Montgomery?
Strong mayor.
Strong mayor. In a strong mayoral government, over the last year or first term and this term, what kind of accomplishments do you feel have been made in Montgomery?
Well, there's a numerous number of accomplishments that we've made. Probably the first and one of the biggest was we joined forces with the city of Smithers, and we formed the Strategic Initiative Council here in the upper end of the valley, whereby Montgomery and Smithers, we share a lot of services. Dave, we have we share a sanitary, we share police departments, we share a lot of different things. Our code enforcement officer is a shared expense between the two cities, and things that we just couldn't do on our own had we not got on the same team and pulled in the same direction. And we're instead of us having two sandboxes up here, we just have one big sandbox.
So the Upper Kanawha Valley in the last 5-10 years has suffered dramatically. Of course, I understand that part of this progress is made as a result of some of the things that the legislature's implemented that have allowed you to do to raise resources. Could we discuss some of those that have been advantageous?
Well, they've enacted home rule. They've enacted, let us have some opportunity for some fees that for usage of facilities in the city of Montgomery and all cities across the state. They have done things in the past to help us with suspending driver's license and those type things for folks that don't want to pay their fine for a moving violation or what have you. So they've done a lot of things to help us, and we at the city level, we've thought for so long that we were all on the same team. They were there to help us, and we certainly fed information back to the state entities, and we worked well together.
Of course, home rule means what, Mayor?
Well, home rule gives you a little bit. First of all, you have to have you have to do all your homework. You have to have a comprehensive plan. You have to do those things, and there's some a lot of boxes you have to check. But once you achieve home rule, there's some additional things that you can do, like a sales tax, right to enter into negotiations with other city entities or the county or something of that nature. We can sell property without auction. There's just a whole lot of things that, and that's just a few that Montgomery's done, but there's a whole lot of things the larger cities are very aware of, and it gives the local municipality more power to govern the local economy and grow that local economy. So that was a big powerful tool for us to have the home rule bill.
And I know that home rule, and I know that small cities like Montgomery and large cities like Charleston and Huntington, Parkersburg, Fairmont, and some of these cities experience some of the same difficulties in terms of funding a budget and raising monies. So I know that the Municipal League and yourself particularly are interested or concerned today about House Bill 2256. Could you briefly describe House Bill 2256, which the legislature had given in the past?
Yes.
What's happening with House Bill 2256, what it does, and where the status is at this point?
Well, House Bill 2256 is to repeal a previous authorization for cities to impose a user's fee to people that work in your municipality, and that user fee was for streets, for police, fire departments. There's several different ways you can set up your user fee, what you use that money for. And Charleston uses theirs for police funding and street repairs. There's just different things that different cities use it for. In Montgomery, we use it for just paving streets. And the user fee last year, we raised about $30,000. Now, that's a small municipality. If you take a municipality like a Parkersburg or a Charleston, you have a lot more money, but it's relative. They have a lot more streets, and they have a lot more people to take care of. So the user fee allowed us to pave all of our streets around the hospital. That's where a lot of the user fee money came from, was people working at the hospital. So we tried to provide those services as close as we could to the epicenter of where the people were paying it. And also with the doing that bill in or putting the paving around the hospital, you know, we hadn't paved in Montgomery in 15 years because we didn't have the money. And then when Tech left, that just hit us again. So 15 years, and we finally. So if you had a broken arm or a broken hip and you're in an ambulance going to the hospital, it's a pretty rough ride. So again, this user fee allowed us to pave those streets and to pave those highways to get us where we are today and get us to pave. So now the HB 2256 wants to repeal that. And we just feel like that we would like for our legislator to be on our team. And we are providing local services at the local level. And I think that most municipalities have relied upon that fee to provide a lot of services for the people that come visit our city. So HB 2256 is to repeal it, and we certainly do not endorse that.
I think Charleston was one of the first cities to implement a user's fee, and I remember when that was done when I was in the legislature. Now, what exactly is a user fee?
A user fee is a fee assessed on people that do not live in your municipality but work here. So it's outside people that use your city's services but pay nothing for it. So the user fee was a fee that they help pay for the pavement that they drive to work on, for the street lights at night, for the police department. If their car catches on fire, the fire department goes, puts it out. They weren't paying anything for that. And it was a fee that fell upon the residents. And the user fee allowed a way to assess a small amount of money to help defray that cost. And so the user fee is a very useful tool. I think it's a fair tool. I mean, if you work in the city and you pay $2 a week, and that's what it is, it's $2 a week, most of them, and they're some of them $1.50, some of them's $2.50, but $2 a week, it's not going to break anybody up, but at the same time, it's everyone sharing the expense that everyone uses, rather than to put that total burden upon the municipality, because if only the people that lived in Montgomery used the streets of Montgomery, we'd probably never have to pay. We have more visitors here than on the streets and the highways. So last year we paved most of the intersections, and we just had to do spot paving because as any mayor can tell you, $30,000 is not a lot of money when you try to put down blacktop.
Especially when you have a light bill for city lights of $32,128.
Yeah, and we have city lights. Those are services that people forget about. The street lights in the city. Montgomery pays $32,000, and I would venture to say Charleston pays $1 or $2 million. I don't know what they pay, but again, it's relative. It's relative expenses. They have a lot of street lights in Charleston, and somebody has to pay that bill. And when you get $30,000 taken away from you by HB 2256, the repeal of this $30,000 that we get for a user fee, that money's got to come from somewhere. So then the city councils have to decide: do we turn out the lights? Do we not buy a new police cruiser? I mean, those gaps in our budgets have to be filled by some other means.
I know, for example, you've said 30-some thousand in your user fee, and we'll use as an example the town of Parkersburg. Theirs is almost $1 million.
Yes.
So the last thing I'd like to know, you've talked about a user fee. I guess we could say that's kind of a flat fee. It's not prorated on the employee's wages.
No.
And that amount can be from a low of what to a high of what, Mayor?
I don't know that I understand your question.
Is it $1 per employee, or is it $10, or can it be 1 or 10?
It's the same. It's flat across the board.
Okay.
Ours started out at $1. Second year it went to $1.50. Third year it went to $2.
Okay. So you graduated it in.
We graduated into $2, yes, and it won't go any higher. Ours at this point, without more council legislation, will not go any higher.
So this will create a hole in your budget if it's passed.
Yes.
And you are a member of the Municipal League.
Yes.
And the Municipal League, are they endorsing this, or are they opposed to this piece of legislation?
Well, they're opposed to this legislation because all of the member cities in the Municipal League, at least all of them that I've had conversation with, are certainly against this. And this is going to total across the state of West Virginia. It's going to total about $25 million, which is quite a lot of money to take out of our city budgets and all across the state. So I don't know of any municipality that's in favor of it. I don't know that, I think someone somewhere talking about the bill, someone's upset with it. I don't know who it is. And let me say this, Dave, we have some of the best legislators anyone could ever want. I have
You're talking statewide.
Statewide. I have friends in the Senate, I have friends in the House, and they're good people. They're hardworking, they give their time to the public of West Virginia, and I think that those folks need to be commended. But obviously, in this particular case, there's some people here that decided that for whatever reason, and we really don't know why, decided to do this. And I kind of compare this to shooting an arrow and you don't know where it's landing, and that's not a way to form public policy. I think that the Municipal League should have been brought to the table in the early stages of this, and most definitely at this stage. I think that the cities and the Municipal League should be involved. So I just would like for the legislator to be on our side and be on our team, and let's work together for the public safety. Let's work together for the public policy.
Mayor, I think that's well said, that government is for service to the people.
Yes, absolutely.
That government should work together, and it should be bipartisan as well. So,
absolutely.
With that said, I'm getting a signal here that our time's gone. We appreciate you spending time with us today, Mayor, and look forward to interviewing you in the future.
Well, thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll be right back in one moment.
Stay tuned. The West Virginia Capitol Report will be right back. The West Virginia Capitol Report is brought to you by the AFL-CIO of West Virginia, Cucumber & Company, online at cucumberandcompany.com, and Mark Hunt & Associates, toll free at 800-554-1280. From under the Golden Dome in Charleston, this is the West Virginia Capitol Report.
Welcome back to the Capitol Report for our second segment, where here we have with us the honored Mayor of Smithers, Dr. Ann Cavalier. I know that you've expressed some concern that user fees, payroll fees, and so forth, it appears that there is a move afoot or an affront from the legislature to dwindle or take away those necessary resources to provide the service to the public.
We think that that's a trend, and we don't think it's just in West Virginia. We see that all across the nation. Hey, I'm a retired business professor. I love business. Teach business, support business. I've owned businesses. And I want businesses to succeed everywhere. But when you cut our B&O taxes, when you want to cut municipal fees, when you want to do away with user fees, then where's our revenue stream to come from? How do we find the revenue to pave the streets, to keep the lights on, to keep police officers out there for good law-abiding citizens who need that help and that support? So I think we are in a period of time where we're watching our municipalities lose our sources of revenue while costs that we cannot control are going up. And that is a squeeze that is going to visit the quality of life in our communities. At the very same time, the state of West Virginia wants to create a tourism state, an economy built on tourism. Mm-hmm. If you come into a small town, hey, we're within a half an hour of the new national park, of the new River Gorge in one direction, Charleston and all of its cultural amenities in the other. Do you want to drive through towns and see potholes, see street lights that aren't maintained? Do you want to have a flat tire and nobody shows up to show you that friendly service?
Dilapidated buildings.
Dilapidated buildings. Our code enforcement officer is supported by many of those fees. So we think that keeping small towns clean, safe, and attractive really supports the state economy and its goal towards tourism.
I know that many cities, whether they be small or large, are saying some of the things you're saying. And I know that probably 40 cities in the state of West Virginia are affected either by the user fee or the payroll tax, or payroll fee, we'll say, for the privilege to work. Do you suppose several years ago they started talking about metro government? Do you get a sense this may be a push to encourage metro government, or could it be?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that question.
It's almost as if it's scripted.
I know. Well, we have looked at user fee in Smithers. We've not passed it yet, but we're in that discussion because those are people that work there and use our services but don't otherwise support the city. But metro government sometimes gets introduced in a very negative connotation. It's like, I'm going to lose my turf, I'm going to lose my power if we do metro government. Mayor Ingram and I have a form of metro government. We share police services, we share code enforcement, we share help with our sewage treatment plant, and you know what? It's working because we're cooperating with one another. City of Smithers is saving money, City of Montgomery is saving money. We're bringing better services to our residents and our businesses, and we're doing it without making harsh governmental changes, which tend to upset people from time to time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The status quo is liked quite often, but it doesn't create progress.
That's right. But working together, we think, creating better services with fewer dollars.
Mayor, let's talk just a moment about Senate Bill 30, the power purchase agreement. And I know you have an interest in that, and you feel it would be quite successful. Why don't you tell our viewers what it is and what you see with it and the ability to use it within your city?
Thank you. Again, another good question. I'm a child of the 60s. You know, save the earth. That's, you know, flower child.
Right.
I'm very, very, very interested in that. And so I'm interested in looking at ways that we can protect the earth. But I'm also a retired business professor, so I want businesses to grow. I'm a child of a coal family, and I want people who work in coal to have good jobs and to have future good jobs. So if you roll all three of those things together, what you come up with are good jobs in renewable energy. You come up with municipalities being able to look at operating renewable power companies using power purchase agreements, which is what Senate Bill 30 is all about. You allow publicly funded entities to generate their power and to perhaps sell it to other publicly supported entities. What happens is our costs go down, or we can control and manage those costs. And other public entities supported by tax dollars, their costs go down too.
So you could utilize those monies, let's say just for example, to operate your streetlights in town.
Exactly right. Exactly
And
right.
as a result of generating this, you said you could sell to other entities,
Yes.
such as whom?
Well, for instance, right across our parking lot is a PK through 8 elementary school supported by tax dollars. If there were a way that the city generated power and then could sell that power at a very good rate to the Board of Education, everybody wins.
So will Senate Bill 30 allow for this or provide for this as you understand it now?
As I understand it now, it's in the Senate. It goes through the legislative process, so we'll see what sort of bells and whistles get added. But it would be an advantage. It would create jobs in a new industry. We think that's a win-win for everybody.
So could you sell to Appalachian Power Company, for example?
Yes, you could. In fact, now I can put a power plant on the top of City Hall. We've got 32,000 square feet of black flat roof. We sit out in the middle of the valley, so we aren't hit by much shade. So we could put in a power plant. Right now, that's who we would sell to, would be the power company in the area. But why couldn't we also sell to publicly supported entities and help them reduce their costs and therefore use that savings to provide a better education to the children?
I understand there's another bill that you had some concern with that passed last year that affected police fees or police fines or so forth. Could you briefly describe that for us?
Yes.
And your concern with that?
One other source of not only revenue for the city, but also to keep us clean, safe, and attractive, our law enforcement officers. We sit right on Route 60. It is a main artery, and we have to control the speed going through that town. We've never been a speed trap. You know, you always have the 5 miles over the speed limit. But now we are so restricted in that income that it's hard to keep officers out there. I've actually lost an officer this past year and have not been able to fill that position. Between the ticket changes, between the court fee changes, between COVID and the loss of B&O taxes, I've actually lost an officer this year. And that officer worked out on Route 60.
So those restrictions means then that an individual who is ticketed, for example, doesn't have to pay that ticket.
That's right.
So it's kind of the leverage, the hammer you have, which ordinarily those monies would have been coming in.
Now you add that to the fact that during COVID, to be very humanitarian, what we've done is we've said, you don't have to pay your tickets. That was from last year. You don't have to pay your sewer bill. You don't have to pay your electric bill.
Really?
You don't have to pay your rent. To be humanitarian during this COVID crisis. But look what that has done then to revenue to cities. That has hurt us greatly. And I know that the COVID CARES Act has provided funds to cities, but that money got filtered all along the way. So you have a city like Smithers that lost $300,000. We were reimbursed $135,000.
So there wasn't that windfall that everyone thought.
No.
And I'm sure that affected the large cities just the same manner, except proportionally different, perhaps.
Right. And so, you know, it's not one thing. It's not this traffic ticket tax. It's not COVID. It's not the reduction in B&O taxes to set up the 1% sales tax, it's not any one thing. It has been a constant chipping away of the revenue to our communities. We have to maintain clean, safe, and attractive communities, and you cannot do that if you have no revenue.
So let's talk very quickly, I've got just a couple minutes left, about House Bill 2780 that I understand is another bill that affects the ability of a city to generate revenue.
Okay. I go back to what I think is my primary purpose, and that is to keep our community clean, safe, and attractive. The business license means when you come to work in our city, you come to our city hall and you show that you have the certification, the licensure to do the craft that you say that you're coming into our city to do, whether it's electric or it's plumbing or it's carpentry, whatever it is you're doing. We're the first line to say you're qualified to do that in our city, and you're going to help us keep our city clean, safe, and attractive. Yes, you pay a little fee for that.
Well, Mayor Cavalier, we certainly appreciate the time you spent with us today, and obviously, as Mayor Ingram yourself, both of you are very visionary, and to be complimented on the achievements you've made as mayors, and certainly I know that you're sympathetic with the large cities as well.
The West Virginia Capitol Report is brought to you by the AFL-CIO of West Virginia, Cucumber and Company, online at cucumberandcompany.com, and Mark Hunt and Associates, toll free at 800-554-1280.
Welcome back to the Capitol Report, where we've been talking with two mayors, Mayor Ingram and Mayor Cavalier, where we've been talking about some very important topics to the cities, not only in the Upper Kanawha Valley, but all over the great state of West Virginia. So we appreciate you joining us. We look forward to talking to you again next week with the Capitol Report.